All right, chat room. Hello, this is me, your boy Left, doing a buff slash nerf plus tier list. So first off, we're gonna rank how much we feel like characters got buffed, nerfed, or improved, and then we're going to kind of compare that to my tier list and make like a guess on how good Jacko is gonna be as well. Jacko just came out. I'm playing her a lot. We'll see where I think she's gonna end up. It's gonna be a range though, because just like with Goldlewis, where I had like the range of like low to mid tier, Jacko's gonna be like similar, right? Be sure to like, subscribe. This is gonna go up on the second channel, so fucking do it. We need more subs. We only got like 1,000. That's 1 out of 200, as much as the main channel. All right. So, who did not get changed much? Or should we start with the big buffs? So the biggest buffs is Anji. Anji got like the ability to cancel his Fujin on whiff. Shin got better. It's easier to combo from standing H now. So far slash into far H is bigger. They do look kind of janky. I agree. Let me pull up the patch notes in case we need them. Yeah, that's the big change though. Like just Fujin be able to cancel it. I don't think it actually matters that much for pressure. Like I don't think it makes him super hard to block or anything. It's actually pretty easy to block still, but I do think it really helps neutral. And just being able to confirm from far standing S makes that button really, really scary. And you don't really want to 6P too much against Anji because he can do 2D counter hit and do like massively blow you up. But we're going to have to see where he ends up. I think he could honestly just be in the plus tier. But for now, we're going to put him at plus, greatly improved. So I guess it's worth saying, if you're looking at Chipp right here, you might wonder, we'll get to him, but for this patch, I am also going to be talking for PC. And we're kind of going to talk a little bit about Chipp and other characters such as Leo, where effectively a lot of characters got nerfed because of the input delay changes that happened to PS4 Pro. PS4 Pro now has 2.5-ish frames of lag, which is about the same as PC Online. It's down 2 frames from the previous patch, and since the game was basically balanced around having more input lag, it does change a lot of things. On 2-frame input lag, you can react to a lot more things, and so this is one of the reasons why I'm not super keen on putting Anji in super buffed, because his overhead is 25 frames. You know, you can essentially make it 27 now, right? Like, you can make it a lot slower. So blocking Anji's overhead is going to be about as hard as blocking a fully charged 5D, which is not that hard, right? So this is another reason why my next pick is probably going to be pretty controversial. I actually don't think Leo himself got buffed. I think the only thing that happened with Leo is he got he can cancel his 5K and he can do dash cancels, but that change very rarely matters. People are like, oh, you can burst bait. You could already burst bait. You could stance cancel. The dash cancel really doesn't do anything because like, what would you do with it for the most part? Like, yes, you can do 5K into cross up 5K, but you could already do 5K into the cross up move. So like, it does matter. It does, but it overall, when you already get into back turn by Leo, you're already fucked, right? The easiest way to look at this, in my opinion, and this is a little counterintuitive, it's like, how good is the 50-50? Well, it's 50% chance that you get hit, 50% chance that you don't. Now let's add another layer. So now it's a 33, 33, 33, right? You have one more mix up. Now it's low overhead and cross up, right? That's quite a big difference, right? Like from 50-50 to 33, that's about 70% increase. Now, let's add another mix-up. Let's do cross-up, overhead, cross-up. So low, overhead, and then cross-up, low, cross-up, overhead. Now that's 25, 25, 25, 25. That's only 8% increase. And this is the thing. Leo already had a 4-way mix-up. He could already do cross-up, low, low, high. He could also do low, low, high, etc. And then he also had the command grab. Now he can do low, low, then cross-up, which he also could do. But now he can do low, low, cross-up, then high, I suppose. But you see what I'm saying here? Like, maybe even if it's another mix-up, it's probably like a 2020, 2020. So it's only a 5% increase. Basically what I'm saying is he already had such insanely scary mix-ups, and he was already incredibly plus on all of his mix, that adding another mix-up, which is low into low, but it's cross-up, which can also be thrown, so it's not completely safe. I don't see the massive thing about it, unless there are other things that we do not see right now, like maybe a combo you couldn't do before, something like that, or a reset. But so far, I haven't seen any of it. Basically, he still plays like the exact same character. Once he's in, you're gonna be fucking spending burst or YRC or FD just to get him out as quickly as possible. That's the only real thing I could see be used at. Like, you get FD'd out and then you dash back in or something. But yeah, I don't know if it's actually very plus even if they FD. So yeah, it's more the fact that other characters got nerfed and Leia was already, in my opinion, the second best character, and he did not get nerfed at all, which is kind of crazy. But here's the thing: this buff does matter. The back turn K dash buff, but he gets heavily nerfed by the PS4 change. The PS4 change makes it a lot easier to block his cross up. His cross up is like from 16 to 24, but usually I think it's around 23, 24 range that it's going to hit you cross up. If you insta block his cross up, you basically get a throw punish, and obviously you can throw it. And 23, 24, 22. Right around there is the perfect range where like it goes from hard to block on PC to like almost unseeable on PS4. So basically, if we play tournaments on PS4, he's going to be heavily nerfed just by the fact that you can react to his cross-up much more safely. All right, so next up we have buffed. Zato got buffed. Apparently his unsummon change was a nerf according to Mullen Pie, because like frog into unsummon was slightly more minus, and it makes his combos tiny bit harder, but they still work for the most part. But I think one of the hidden changes that he can summon faster, like he can cancel manually cancel faster, makes a quite big of a difference. So that, along with 6P being faster and linking more often, and far H being better and faster, I think he got buffed. He's like borderline. I think he's high plus tier. Faust, I think, is also here, around here. He might be here, but he he did not get buffed that much. I'm gonna put him here just so Faust mains don't end at all, you know. But like, I think he's low plus tier. Like, the important thing to remember is that the biggest buffs Faust got was like the 2H is way longer and has more disjoint. The 5H buff makes it harder to run in on him, and he does more damage. The super wall break helps for sure. And the jumping 2K buff is 3 frames, but it still helps and puts him more safely. But I actually think the biggest buff in a lot of his matchups actually comes from the fact that other moves were nerfed, such as Chipp 4/, Soul 6A, 6S, May 5S. They no longer hit as high. As low, so he can crawl under them. So yeah, I think he got buffed, but maybe not as much as Anji. Oh, it's 4 frame faster. Okay, jumping 2K is 4 frame faster. Who else? Millia got like low plus buffed. Her buffs are nice, but it may cross up this harder, which was a pretty big part of her optimal game plan. People aren't doing it that much because it's hard, but I think that was the future. Now it might not be the future anymore. Lust Shaker change is nice, but it's still not a block string from 2D, which is where you need it the most. So characters such as Leo can still DP everything, I believe, if you 2D them up close. You can confirm a little bit easier from far H now with S-Disc, and S-Disc is better in neutral, which helps for sure. I do want to test out Millia more, so I'm not going to say too much. But I don't think her changes matter ultimately that much. 6P you can confirm into Disc now, which is nice. Disc purple RC is better as well. But she still does low damage. She still has no 5 frame button. You know, she still has the same flaws essentially. And with a lot of characters, 6P's getting faster. Defending her might be a little bit easier for those characters. Zeno, you're just incorrect. You forgot 2 buffs. So Zeno was saying Wild Throw is the only buff, and it's super scaled. First off, I don't think it's actually that scaled. You can actually get quite a bit of damage from Wild Throw RC. Quite a bit. Secondly, Soul got is going to be here, by the way. He got jumping to, like, he got a lot of changes, but he did get 3 buffs. So the first buff is Wild Throw. I think that's the second most impactful buff. It definitely matters because it makes I'm just going to take another throw range a lot bigger. And Soul loves to throw when he has 50 meters because if you jump against it, he RCs. If you backdash, he RCs, right? And you can't throw against it either. So when Soul's 50 meter now, ending the round with Wild Throw is incredibly strong. And you actually do a lot of damage, especially if you have high risk. It scales a lot because you can do Wild Throw into clean hit DP routes, and you just get better Oki as well. Like, not only are you able to have the RC combo, I also believe you're more plus if you don't RC Wild Throw. So it's a very big buff, for sure, but it's not like the biggest buff. Like, it wouldn't put him plus if nothing else was changed. Secondly, he also got 2S buff. 2S was already a very good normal. We can look it up here, right? Soul 2S was already good. Like, Soul down players will tell you like, oh, it was nothing special. Like, no, this move put on another character. Fuck, do they not have the fucking hitboxes here? Someone pull up the image of it while I talk. Soul 2S is an insanely disjointed button, even pre-patch. It was hard to get full combo from it pre-patch and now, because you have to do 2S with run momentum if you want to do like 2S 5H. But 2S Bandit Bringer is still very, very, very viable, and it combos at most ranges. If you're TP toe spacing it, you need a counter hit for the combo, but it often counter hits if you hit it at TP toe because you're either trying to like 6P or you're trying to challenge something like with a 5S. And the fact is that Soul's Bandit Revolver, sorry, not Bandit Bringer, Bandit Revolver is usually safe on the max base range. So at any close range, you can usually do 5H. And if they're max range and it doesn't combo, you're usually safe anyway. So like, it's still an incredible tool, and you get a lot of damage from 2S, Bandit Revolver, PRC, DP, like tiny DP route. And I think it's the most disjointed, like low hitting hitbox in the entire game. So, and it hits round start now. Like, they really increased the range of it. It's like a half a character length or something. And like, it has 15 recovery, but like, that's not a lot. And for 6 active frames, like, wait, didn't he get more active frames too? Wait, let me look up the change. I might be capping on that. Oh no, it's more active, and it's more active, and it's more extended. And like, yeah, it's -7, but like -7 fucking, like, that's so whatever when you have souls cancel options like Gunflame, Fake Gunflame, Bandit Revolver, Bandit Bringer. It's definitely got to be a move you use a lot more now because 6P, no, sorry, 6S and 5S both lose to 6P now. So a lot of my play when I played against Soul now, and I've done long sets, is that like people realize that they can't just always do 5S 5S or 5S 6S. So I really think this move is actually going to be very heavily used. The better people get with it, because I already thought it was underused, and I know other Soul players I played with it have found more use for it towards the end of the patch. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a very, very important tool. Yeah, so this was the hitbox before the patch. Before the patch. Now it's going to be over here or something, is what I guesstimate. And it's all disjoint, and it's more active. Like, the fact that it hits round start is kind of crazy, right? Like, let me pull it up. And it's all disjoint. I don't know if the active frames are updated. I hope they're updated. In my head, I feel like it was 4 frames active before, but I'm not sure. It could be the old patch, so like it could have more than 6 frames active, but I think it's 6 frame active now. Oh, it actually doesn't hit Jacko round start. It does on some characters. Maybe it's only after wall break, but like, yeah, it's a very, very good move now. And again, like, you know, you can't really just jump out of it either. And that Bandit Revolver is going to be safe on block too. So, you know, maybe you can't traditionally hit confirm it on regular hit, but you can pseudo hit confirm it where you can buffer it, and it's only going to hit if they move forward, in which case they usually will get a hit. And even then, like, once you have meter, you get a 50-50 if they block the Bandit Bringer. It's still an incredibly strong tool. That said, though, it definitely doesn't make up for some of the nerfs, but it's still a big buff in my opinion. Bigger, significantly bigger for me than the Wad Throw buff. That's just me, though. I already liked using this tool before, but I really think it like works beautifully because a lot of 6Ps got buffed. And a lot of Soul's tools got nerfed, or well, 6S got nerfed towards 6Bs. Yeah, counter hit confirm for sure, but I think even regular confirm is good. Oh, I didn't show the game. I'm dumb. Sorry. So it actually doesn't hit Jacko round start, but I know I've been hit with other characters round start, not pressing a button. But like it's one step away from hitting round start. Like, it's a pretty crazy move now. And it does not have a lot of active, like, ending lag. And again, like, for some characters, let's say Jacko, right? Like, if you whiff a button like this with Jacko, yeah, it doesn't have a lot of recovery, but if you see her whiff it, you know she can't do anything, right? If I'm trying to whiff punish 2S and Soul does fucking, you know, 2S DP, I get hit. Or 5k, right? So the fact that it has recovery, it still makes it really hard to punish. Like, you actively got to be looking for it. And the fact that you have to actively be looking for another move from Soul is a big deal, right? And the way for me is that, like, because this move loses 6p and this move loses 6p, and you can whiff punish these moves by standing out of the range, right? Like, you want to stand at this range to whiff punish 5S. And you want to do like a 2k. But then if they whiff 2S, you know, they're completely safe against this. So it just makes you have to, like, play at different ranges. And I personally think as the patch goes on, we're going to see a lot more of it. Like, I think it's a big buff, and it was already an underused button. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see. That said, though, there's some other changes that happened to Soul. The Bandit Bringer nerf. I can pull this up here. Bandit Bringer is more landing recovery and pushes back way more. Same thing with regular Bandit Bringer. Regular Bandit Bringer is actually better now, I would say. Funnily enough, that was actually also a buff, I think, because previously, right, if you did this string, oh, you wouldn't do that. You would use Far Age. You could just throw here. And now you actually can't do that. Like, he's safe. I don't know the actual minus frames, but I know the characters I played can't punish it, and this is a 5-frame button. So he's probably -2 still, but he's more safe. Which is a very good thing for Soul. It makes that a lot better. And obviously, if they air block it, they're super minus. They're probably minus like 17, at least. And yeah, it made another one of his tools stronger. But this air bandit bringer nerf was significant. You can now punish it with some characters to quite a decent bit. Jacko does not get a good punish though. And there's other characters that, like that. That's the only thing I get. And even that doesn't usually work. And like this doesn't combo into anything. So like, don't at all bully people to say that like air bandit bringer is bad now, whatever. Like, first and foremost, it was completely ridiculous to do it before, but still a very good move. Still definitely something Soul's going to be using. Maybe they wait a little bit more until they have meter now. But it was already better with meter because, you know, you get combo with meter. This is also something I didn't see Soul players do for some reason, but yeah, you get full combo with RC. And it's actually not that scale, I think. Probably look that up, what the proration is. Yeah, 80%, which is whatever. That's not bad. So yeah, like that, the air bandit bringer nerf, I think, is a significant change to Soners who can punish him after it. I don't think it's a big change, well, as big of a change, I guess, for some characters that don't get a good solid enough punish, but it is still way better because they don't get free pressure, right? Before they did air bandit bringer and they were effectively plus, not minus. Now their minus may be punishable. That's still a big difference. And the fact that it has landing recovery means that you can at least sometimes whiff punish it now. Still a little bit hard, but whiff punishing is definitely the way because 6Ping is very spacing dependent for most characters. Actually, oh yeah. Or rather timing it, like sensitive, because he can charge it and not charge it. So it becomes very, very hard. Like not really reactable, I would say, to 6P it. But you can now whiff punish it. So I would advise people to do that instead. And it's one of my favorite changes in terms of like making him less degenerate, because people would do air bandit bringer whiffed into like super or SDP. You would just cry. So yeah, he got 4 buffs, right? And the last buff I haven't talked about, which is not significant at all, is 2k reduced knockback. Basically just means that 2k 2D whiffs less, right? Like this whiffs less, but it still does whiff. But this is pretty important because if he got the Far S buff, which we will talk, Far S nerf that we were going to talk about soon, without getting this, then it would have been a little bit hard, like a little bit too hard for him to stop jumpers after this. Or like people trying to futzy jump after blocking him. I don't think it's a huge nerf or anything, but especially in the corner, Soul does get very high reward for hitting a 2k. And this combo is also a little bit easier. I mean, like that, yeah, that's massive damage, right? Which is what he uses for his high-low as well. Now that Soul players did it. So Far S, this is the biggest change, I would say. The 6x buff is big too, but I think this is honestly the biggest one. It has now 90% paration instead of 100. I don't know why the fuck it had 100. Basically, like, if you don't know what paration is, like, hitting a close S or a heavy button, right? Like this move or this move had 100, like, the combo doesn't scale at all. So if you do closest into closest, they did the same damage. But if you do now, it does 90% of the damage. I believe it works that way, unless there's no paration on the first hit, but whatever. Basically, your combo after Far S does less damage. I don't know exactly how paration works with counter hits in this game. I believe there's less paration on counter hit. But still, it's definitely a big change that you will take slightly less damage if they do a Far S combo. And they get pushed out quite a bit more. And I think that push out is actually the biggest change. You can kind of notice it for sure if you play against them a lot, especially if you FD. Now, I don't think this is like some kind of like miracle change. Like, yes, he can't like Far S. But honestly, I don't really think he has to. But I would say that the change is big as mid-range, because like catching backdash for him now is a little bit tricky. He kind of has to call it out a bit more. In the corner, I think that even if you get pushed back, like, you know, even if you're, this spacing, right? Like, Soul's still massively winning here because he has such good corner control. But mid-range, I do think it really, mid-stage, I think it really, really matters, because jumping back or backdashing is quite a bit harder for him to catch. So he has to like structure his offense a little bit differently to where he uses close S more. And I mean, close S is, you know, it's a +3 move, which Soul didn't really use that much before. Like he didn't ever really do close S run up close S before, because he could just do Far S. So why risk it? I still think that, you know, like, he's gonna have amazing pressure. He still TODs you from a lot of things, and he's still incredibly strong. And like his pressure is, I mean, but the Far S gives a lot more counterplay, and it makes him a lot less degenerate, which I really like. Like, I genuinely think fighting New Soul is a lot more fun, because he can't just Far S throw far, you know, like he actually has to mix up what he's doing a little bit more. Now, do I think these nerfs put him out of top tier or even out of the best character in the game? Honestly, no. No, I still think there's only really one character or maybe two that have an argument to beating Soul, and there's a ton of characters that pretty clearly, in my opinion, still lose to him. And he's just like super stable, super well-rounded. I don't foresee like Jacko being a bad matchup for him either. I don't think Goldlewis is. So yeah, I still think Soul is definitely the best character, but you're going to have to work harder with him, and you're going to have to work smarter, I guess. Like, you have to use more than just 4S and 6S. I guess we didn't talk about the 6S buff. Basically, it's significantly smaller downwards and upwards. So you can crouch under it with Faust, and you can 6P it. Is the biggest change, I would say. It's less disjointed too. Although I think in general, you do not want to intentionally try to challenge 6S with an active hitbox that is not 6P. And the reason for this is that this is like, you lose your entire health bar if you get counter hit. Like, if they press it a little bit earlier than you thought they would, you just explode. Unless you have a move that is very, very good against it, such as Soul 2S himself, or like Nago 2S. Stuff like that, right? Stuff like that really makes it matter. So I think it makes him, you know, have to use his other buttons. Thankfully, he still has, or not thankfully, I guess, he still has like 6 HS that people barely ever used before, because like learning to whiff punish was just not a thing you really did before. 2S, as I said, as a state, you know, like now you will use 2S against people that use 6P a lot, or people trying to, you know, specifically counterplay your other buttons. And you'll play more in the air, you'll do more ground and bandit bring and stuff like that. So yeah, I still think he's the best, but we don't know. It's still very early. I'd be surprised if he isn't the best, or at the very least top 2. But if the PS4 change didn't happen, I would say he had an argument for maybe not being the best. I still would put him as the best, but the fact is that both the other characters that are close to him right now, in my opinion, both get heavily nerfed by the PS4 change. Like, Soul is a character that has zero reliance whatsoever on reactable mix. Right? Zero. Like, none of the stuff he does is reactable. So the fact that he doesn't get nerfed at all, like he loses none of his options due to the input lag being 2 frames lower, is a massive deal. And yeah, that's what offline torrents are going to be played on now. They're going to be played on PS4 Pros. And Soul's also a character who can react to things well. Like, Soul can actually 5k Chipp command grab on reaction during the new lag. I know this because I played Ventus, who did it on PC, and PC Online is the same lag as PS4 Pro offline is now. And with his DP and 5k, like, he can react to a lot of things, and 4 frame 5p that most characters, like, even if they react, they don't have anything to press. So yeah, I think that's why I put him at only -2 and not triple minus like Chipp. Does that make sense? Any questions before we move on to the next character? Oh yeah, his damage got a little bit lower because of the forest nerf, and because it's a little bit harder to, like, both the proration and because it's hard to build risk, and because it's harder to get conversions at max range. I personally think that, like, his 4S to 5H not always working on non-counter hit specifically when you're max range. To me, that's whatever. Like, he can still convert 4S into bandit revolver. And yeah, I mean, basically every character struggles with, like, having max range buttons not lead into full combo. So I think that was more normalized, and I think that basically everyone deals with. rather than like a specific crazy change. 5k was never the problem though. 5k is a fucking problem. That is ultra cap. That is ultra cap. Oops, shit. Fuck. I accidentally closed it. All right, we're back. 5k is like contender for the best normal in the game. Like of course it's a problem. If he got nerfed from 5k too, then I put him here. Oops, there. But I personally think that like Soul's nerfs were big. Oh yeah, SDP has more whiff recovery now, but it also has more active frames, so it's a burf. It's better for anti-airing now. I would say it's still a nerf more than it's a buff though. But honestly, I don't think that was ever really going to last, that you were just whiffing SDP. Like it was already punishable, especially now that it has that you have less input lag. So I generally don't think like it's a big change. It's always 5k has always been Soul's God button. What do you want? That's such a dumb mentality. What do you mean it's always been like that? It's literally 5 frames in Rev 2. So like you just clearly don't know what you're talking about. Like Soul 5k now, I don't know Rev 2 as good, but like I have never heard anyone else talk about Soul 5k being as good as it is now relative to the entire cast. Because not only was it 5k in Rev 2, but there were also just like it was just a different game. There were different buttons. Like I think Chipp's closest was 4 frames, stuff like that. So like it's a different power level. Soul's 5k now is incredibly strong. Oops, let me decline. Personally, I think 5k should have been nerfed more, but whatever. Maybe that will come later. Next up in buffed, we have Geo. I think Geo, it's really hard to place her change. Her 6, she's probably less buffed than Millia, but it's close because her 5p leading to 6p is a very big deal, even though it doesn't always, because her 5p is a 4-frame button. And 6p just being stronger in general helps for sure, although she never really needed it because she has SDP, or like, you know, it's not fully invincible, but still, it's a godlike anti-air. So that's nice. I don't know if the dive kick, the 6HS hard knockdown is that good. I'd imagine it to be pretty good, and it's not like Giovanna needs some crazy knockdown. As long as she gets a close as meaty, like she's Gucci. But I think Giovanna also just benefits a lot from some of the nerfs, like Soul 6S and May 5S, you know, like and Chipp's 5S. These buttons no longer hitting as low means that she can do her DP in neutral and then explode them for 70% life, and it already has no lag, right? And now it works more consistently against more buttons. So yeah, it got buffed by other characters getting nerfed. I think Axel's hard. I think Axel buffs are actually pretty big. I think they're actually big. Like I would say them here, maybe. Like the fact that he gets way more damage now from his all of his far pokes. And his mid-range pokes as well, like 5p and 2p, with meter now with 1 vision, and the fact that he can do 5p 2p snail. That's a big buff, and he gets like wall break from like when he's cornered, gets a 2s counter hit. He gets like wall break on the other side. Yeah, it's definitely a big buff, and I think it makes him even stronger in the matchups he was already strong in, which I think is a fun change. Or like in the ranges, but it also does mean that like Potemkin, Goldlewis, and Nago and Zato, which already struggle versus him, and Faust, of course, he now wins even harder against. Yeah, the easy change is basically to say that like one vision is basically a double red Roman cancel. So you don't really want to use it that much more neutral, but it's a way to get way more damage from some of your specials and some of your normal hits. So yeah, definitely big buffs. Really fun buffs too. I think One Vision is one of the coolest moves. Next up we have Ram. Some people thought Ram was nerfed. Some people thought Ram was neutral. I would actually put her on slightly buffed. Why? Well, she doesn't mind the input lag changes, and from what I've seen, people really seem to think that the 214S buff is really big. It now giving a hard knockdown, which Ram loves, right? Like she loves hard knockdowns instead of mid range. You can see SQ, probably the best NA Ram, saying it makes a significant difference. Crazy buff. And I've also listened to SQ. I've heard about her talk about the jumping heavy nerf, which is a nerf, but it's mostly a nerf to bad Ram players. Like it doesn't actually affect a lot of really strong Rams anyway. And now if you block jumping heavy, now you really don't want to press after it a lot of time, because if you get hit by the frame trap 214S, then you get knocked down. Oh, you can get 214H OTG from it. Damn. Yeah, so slight buffs, probably less than Geo, but definitely buffed. And she's also buffed by proxy of other characters getting nerfed. Actually, maybe Red Dead was the best Ram, huh? Who knows? Oh yeah, Daru got buffed too. That wasn't a crazy buff, but it does make it more consistent, confirmed from her 5S, 5H, stuff like that. Definitely still helps because it improves her already best normals, which is 5S and 5H, and lets you get combo off them more. So yeah, definitely buffed. Next up we have Potemkin. I would say Potemkin's around here. Maybe even there. Potemkin 6K now has 7 frame less recovery. It was minus 12, now I think it's minus 6. I think that's what I read. I could be wrong this. Heat Knuckle now went from building the lowest amount of risk of any attack in the game to building the most amount of risk of any attack in the game, I think. Except maybe like Garuda. And it also guard breaks you. Yeah, like I think Potemkin got buffed because of that, and I also think Potemkin got buffed because he struggles a lot less in mid-range now against characters such as Soul and Mei, because their buttons aren't godlike anymore. So Soul now I could see actually not struggle versus Potemkin, but like actually doesn't dominate neutral anymore. His Axel matchup got worse though, which sucks, but yeah, I could see him actually being here. But you know, he still got buffed for sure. And I don't know why he got buffed. I don't know why he got buffed without it getting Garuda nerfed. Garuda untouched. Fuck everything. I think low key Kai is up here. I actually think Kai got more buff than Anji and Faust. And it's mostly the stun dipper buff. I actually think the stun dipper buff and the is so massive. The fact that Kai gets meaty 5k, not is so huge. Like, let me pull this up to show you. Like, it's such a big buff. It is such a big buff. He also got his crouching K less knockback, which isn't a massive deal, but it's a button Kai presses more than most because his 2K was already very long. So definitely big, but fuck. Let me just go to normal. But yeah, Dragon Install buffs are definitely felt. You do want to use that move now, especially if you can get wall break when you're under 35% life, because you can wall break with Dragon Install, and it will now start getting meter back instantly. And his pressure's kind of nuts during Dragon Install, and his neutral's even stronger. So definitely very, very nice to be able to use that. You can go into it more ways now. You can do like 2K 2D Dragon Install, stuff like that. Yeah, just very nice. I don't know if there's any hidden changes about Kai, like if his moves got better during Dragon Install. I actually think they did, but I'm not confident in that, so I'm not gonna say that. But yeah, the stun dipper change is so massive. Like, you still can combo on it from all ranges like that, but the fact you now get pressure, like, it is such a massive change. It is so big. Because he has, it also goes further now, I think. Like, it doesn't actually. No, wait. It does say that in the changes. It says, made it easier for the second hit to combo by changing the distance traveled, the hitbox, and the blowback. So the distance traveled is what made it go further. So the fact that you have dash momentum like this, it just makes it an absurdly good tool. Like, if someone's throwing a fireball or something, you can actually just go and hit him. And now you actually have good reward. Like, you had to do run up 2S or something to meaty them before, which usually lost the backdash. Like, in order for Kai to cover backdash, I would see Kai players do stun dipper into stun dipper, which is minus 15 on block. But now, instead of having to take risks, you're just super plus instead. Massive change. Because this is the move he goes into from all of his buttons, right? All of his buttons. And 5k pressure is very good too. So it's not like bad Oki. It's like actually pretty good Oki. You can go into it from this. Like, you can do it from anything. And it's just, it's really crazy. And I think the dash momentum buff makes, like, Stun Dipper RC was already fucking amazing. But now it's just dummy good. It's so fucking good. Because you can be here and you'd be like, oh yeah. Maybe I'm looking for flip kick, right? Like dash flip kick. Very good. I'm looking for an air dash. Looking for fireballs. And he's just like, what's up, bitch? And then it goes into like 50% common to wall break in, and now he's gonna have even more meter to even more stun dipper. It's 5-frame startup. It's a low. Goes under everything. It goes under even more things now, like Soul 6S, because of the changes, And even if it whiffs, okay, I can't even make it whiff. Let's try again. Let's try one more time. You can just do that, and if they try to punish you, you can DP. So I mean, if you're in shock state, you actually take massive damage from this, right? You get a pickup. Once they're scared of trying to punish this because you're gonna purple RC, well, then you can just do it again because they're like, well, I got a block. I'm too scared of getting purple RC into DP. So yeah, it's a truly insane special now, like S tier special for sure. And in my opinion, the best 50 meter you will ever get. Like, I would trade. I would trade entire supers for just being able to do stun dip RC, specifically when I had meter. And oh yeah, and the Far S has like 7 less frames of recovery. Like, it's actually a very fast button now. way less minus on block as well, which really helps because Kai doesn't have the best special cancels. And it has dash momentum now, so you can like run up and do it. And again, it's easy to confirm off because Stun Dipper is better. Like, he just feels like a lot better of a character. Kai is also one of the characters with the best 6p. Like, he gets 6p into Stun Dipper or 6p into Diraclot. I don't know how to pronounce that. And then he gets Oki. So, like, he just got buffed by proxy a ton because a lot of characters' mid-range game is worse. And he gets way higher reward from mid-range. The only real nerf I see from Kai is that, you know, he likes to use 5D a bit more than most characters. And now that's nerfed because of the input lag. But I think neutral based with punish playstyle is heavily buffed because of the reduced input lag. So I think he still gets a positive buff because of that. Oh yeah, 6B into Ride the Lightning as well. So yeah, for me, the most buffed character in this patch after this bitch, Ino. I actually love Ino's changes. Ino feels like a completely different character now. She went from feeling like she had fucking like she's basically Rock Lee pre taking off the weights and now after taking off the weights. Like the difference is really big if you played her before. Like, she just kind of zooms now. Like, before she was a slow character, now she's like average speed. And like that difference really really is felt if you play against her because Ino's always had godlike buttons, right? Like, she has insane pressure, of course, but she also has very, very good buttons like 6p. Her 6p was already, in my opinion, the best 6p. And it's now better because you can 6p more things. But like her 2k, which also got buffed, it's like very far range. Her 2d is big. Her 2s is big. 5h, 2h, 6. Like, all of her buttons are very, very strong. And so when you put a character with strong buttons that used to be slow and now you make her faster, that's a dangerous combination, right? It's the reason why like Chipp and Millia don't have as strong of a buttons as, you know, Ramlethal, Nago, Potemkin, Faust, right? So movement buffs is one of the absolute biggest buffs. It also enables her to get more mix, like cross-up mix and all that stuff. Then she got like a lot of quality of life improvements, so just like 2k pushing further, pushing less far, so you get Note, Oki better. 2D with the same thing. You get way more time to confirm jumping D, this move. So yeah, just really, really, really buffed. Oh yeah, she's more effectively more plus after this change because they're closer now, so that's really scary as well. This move like ground bounces now, so you get better reward for this. Huge buffs, 0 nerfs, a lot of nerfs buffs by proxy as well. I think Daru, the best Ino, was like really happy about it, saying that like it's up to him to make her top tier now, which I could honestly see her go really, really high. Like, definitely huge buffs. All right, next up we have well, Goldlewis got buffed, but I think the buffs are pretty small, like actually smaller than Ram's buffs. So I'm not going to talk about him too much. 6B got a little faster, 2k got a little bit better, connects more. I think that was the biggest buff according to Goldlewis players. And then full level minigun gives knockdown now, which is like you weren't really getting hit by full range, like full security level minigun anyway. So yeah. Buffed, but not by too much. Also, he gets nerfed by PS4 because you can react his over a lot better. Wait, minigun gives full calm in the corner now. Counter 5S minigun pickup. Yeah, but if you get counter hit, if you counter hit 5S with Goldlewis in the corner, they're fucking dead anyway. So, you know, it's like whatever. Like the amount of times where you will have full security gauge, counter hit 5H in the corner, and they wouldn't die from the old combo is so small anyway. Next up we have Mei, who was by most people decided to be considered second or third best. Some people put her at 4, but I think those were all glue-eating Mei players. She was incredibly strong, and she barely got nerfed. She did get nerfed, but she got nerfed significantly less than Soul and Chipp, in my opinion. Because she also got some nice buffs. Her overhead does 20 damage less, I think. I'm sorry, not her command grab does 20 damage less, but it does more damage mid-screen and gives better setup mid-screen and builds more meter mid-screen. So like, yeah, that nerf matters for sure, but it, you know, not a bit, not huge. Did it nerf the scaling much too? What's the proration? Yeah, the thing always is like the thing always has been with Mei is that like if you got command grabs, you already kind of died half the time. She does such insane damage that like if you ever get wall broken, you're literally one dolphin RC away from dying anyway. I don't think the command grab, I mean the overhead kiss said it nerfed any scaling. Scaling's the same. Yeah, so how is that not basically even then? Because you get more damage mid-screen and you get less damage in corner. Or normal characters, you lose 170 instead of 190 in the corner. The mid-screen damage is minuscule. 20 damage is pretty minuscule, dude. Alright. Hold on. We gotta check this out himself. Never trust a Mei player. That's what we always say, right, chat room? Oh, I gotta hit it before the landing. So it's 87 and regular was 68. So 20 damage. So she lost 20 damage in corner and she gained 20 damage in... Wait. 21 damage. No, wait, sorry. 19 damage mid-screen. It's pretty bad Oki though. Yeah, but you can do other Oki setups. And it's 11 damage, so like 9 less damage if you want the Oki setup. Like I don't know what the exact Oki setup is. I think it's like whiff S Dolphin. And you have other setups too, but you also gotta remember hitting 2 extra moves also gives you more meter, right? And so this will matter, like, let's say you had a slightly under 2 bars, and now you can RC and to kill them. It gives you corner push, right? Like, normally when you command go with Mei, you could not put them in the corner for Oki like that. So is it a nerf? Probably still. Is it a big nerf? Fuck no. Fuck no, it's not a big nerf. It is not a big nerf at all. Especially because Mei had such insane fucking damage that, like, she didn't ever struggle you. Like, she would usually 2 or 3 touch you anyway if she got, like, decent hits. So yeah, it's not a big nerf at all. I will say that the 4S nerfs and the 2S nerfs are bigger, in my opinion. Significantly so. Like, this move is, I think 2S is 3 frames less active or something. And 5S can be 6P'd now. It's not like the ultimate god button that wins against everything, even the things it shouldn't. Now it's more like just the god button. And 2S, still a god button, but it now has somewhat of a hitbox. Still incredibly hard to trade with. Still hits round start. Still gives counter hit confirm. And 5H has like 11 frames less lag or something. And gives really good combo. And gives counter hit combo and non-counter combo. But it also gives better corner combos I've seen. So overall, the nerfs are barely relevant. Like, yeah, you may have to play her slightly differently in terms of, like, you have to use one more move. It's not like Soul where they actually have to learn to use more moves. Like, Mei's game plan is identical, except they use a little bit more Dolphin, a little bit more jump buttons, and a little bit more 5H. That's the only difference, right? It's not like Soul where, like, your pressure's different, your combos are different, your confirms are different, your use of SDP is different, your offensive throw options different. Like, no, Mei's the exact same brain dead character who now has to use a 5H. Still absolutely godlike. Still, in my opinion, way too good for her archetype with how simple she is. Soul has to actually play the game now, not a good comparison. It is a good comparison because Mei never had to play the game either. Mei was always simpler than Soul. So like, I think, if anything, what I'm disappointed about Mei is that she didn't get any super interesting ways to play her. Like, Dolphin's still too good, and jumping heavy still too good, that, like, she's still so simple. Just super slightly less simple if you were spamming 5S and 2S without thought. But whereas I think Soul's changes do a lot more to make him more fun to fight. Yeah, I mean, you can use 5H, but, like, compared to what Soul got and what other characters got for changes, I think Mei is, like, so barely interesting compared to all those. And yeah, she's way too simple for how strong she is. So she's still incredibly good. Yeah, like, definitely not going to fall off anytime soon. Yeah, maybe buffing Beach Ball or something would have been nice. But if you nerf Beach Ball, then you have to nerf Dolphin more. You have to nerf Dolphin more. Because Dolphin is so brain dead for it not to be nerfed. And then buff something else. Okay, next up we have Nagoryuki. Nagoryuki, like, straight up here. I think he's borderline here, honestly. Yeah, maybe he should be up here. For some reason, they were like, fuck it, bro. You know what Nagoryuki needs? 2 extra Beyblades per round. 2 extra Beyblades per round, basically. Nagoriyuki always struggled to have a good way to use meter. He's not a great user of blue RC, yellow RC, or red RC. The most important meter for Nagoriyuki was always his blood rage, blood meter, and the Forest nerfs makes it significantly easier to avoid popping, and it gives him, usually about an extra special a game, I would say. It will depend, but like it will, maybe average out to 1 to a half special extra game, depending on the matchup, depending on the combo route you go for. I will say I think it's a very good change in a vacuum. I think it's interesting that he can now choose to like, okay, I'm going to regenerate blood so I can use more specials, but maybe not get the best wall carry or the best Oki. Gives him more interesting ways to spend meter because now he can forest on block to prevent going blood rage and then RC that into pressure. Problem is though that Beyblade is the most brain dead move in this game. It basically doesn't make you play neutral. Like, I mean, it just skips neutral because it's 0 on block and it leads to massive damage and it leads to you're advantageous on block. And obviously neutral is the hardest thing to play and the most complex thing to play in fighting games. So that's why skip neutral buttons are always the most egregious and always like removes the most amount of thought from the game, I would say. This is generally not a single good way to reliably call out a Beyblade, except like jump away and hope they don't hit your startup. Yeah, there's actually not a single good way to call it up, period, I think. Unless they just do it full screen when you're on grounded, completely ready to whiff punish it. But like they would never Beyblade at that range. It has so much range and so short startup that like, yeah. There's really no good way to deal with Beyblade, and that's why I think it really deserved a nerf if they were going to buff his ability to do it. Yeah, I don't know. It's so crazy. So crazy. And this is also combined with the fact that more buttons now lose to Nago's buttons. Nagoriyuki did not get any nerfs to any of his buttons. He actually got a 1 frame increase in 6P, which is nice, but not a big deal. But the fact that Soul and May struggle and Chipp struggle far more now to beat his 2K, to beat his 2S, to beat his 6P, to beat his 5S, stuff like that with their own buttons makes him absolutely dominant in mid-range. This move speed, it's also compounded by Nago not having the best pressure, even with Beyblade since his fastest button is 6 frame. So I don't know how much of a buff that is. Dude, bro, why are you talking? His fast button is a 5 frame. That's 0 on block. Nago has fucking godlike pressure after Beyblade. What the hell are you thinking? He has godlike pressure. His pressure is insane. When you get them to the corner with Nago, it's just over, bro. All right. Yeah, Nagoriyuki gets slightly nerfed, I would say, by the changes to PS4. By the way, May doesn't really get nerfed by the changes to PS4 at all. She's not reactable. Maybe even slight buffs because of the PS4 change. I'm like, May gets so barely nerfed, huh? I'm dead as putting her at even. She's like in between. Super slight minus. Yeah, the funny way, honestly, is that if any Nagoriyuki player downplays him at all, you know that bitch is a floor 9er. every single good Nagoriyuki player I've ever talked to knows his character's fucking busted. Like, only shitty ass Nagoriyuki players think he's not busted. Like, this is not to say that, like, oh, I think like every good Nagoriyuki player thinks he's like the best, but like good Nagoriyuki players are usually up players, not down players. You don't have to be an up player, but like it's just funny because every bad Nagoriyuki player thinks he's like 8th best or something. Like, they thought Nagoriyuki was fucking low tier and complained so much before. Next up, we have my favorite character previously, at the very least, Chipp. Now, Chipp, in my opinion, is the most nerfed character in the game, and most of it is not intended nerfs. But we'll go through the intended nerfs first. So, where's Chippity Chipp? So, intended nerfs. Far standing slash now loses to 6p on frame 1. So, if you have far slash has 9 frame startup, if you have a 6p out, if you press 6p on frame 8, it will now beat it clean and counter hit it. It also way more consistently loses to 2SS, 2Ds, 2Ks, which was already a weakness of the move. Yeah, in general, this is a big change because pressing 6p against Chipp was already something you wanted to do a lot. He runs in a lot with 5k, which is also 6p-able, and 5s is a great button. So instead of trying to contest or whiff punish it or jump away against 4s, a lot of the time you wanted to try to 6p it, and kind of like hedge your bets that way to make him slow down and then use your regular buttons. But now, because of this change, it's a lot more consistent to 6p it, and you get the use of like 2s's and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a really big change because it's this most used neutral button, of course. But the change itself, it's not as big as you might think, because like, you know, you didn't want to do it against a lot of lows and a lot of 6Ps anyway, but now it will way more consistently lose. So it's a big change only because you use 4S so much, not because the change itself is like as big as, say, the Soul 4S nerf. Crouching S is buffed, and I was really excited for this buff. Like, it made it more easily affected by dash momentum. I actually first tested Kai's 4S buff, where he really slides way further. Chipp's 2S does not carry dash momentum significantly at all. Like, I did not even, I thought it was a bug or something when I tested it, because it, like, that's how insignificant it is. It's like you do not even notice the change, honestly. Like, it's so small. It doesn't change how he plays anyway. It just very slight quality of life change, I guess. And okay, so then we got the jumping 2k nerf. Now, this, out of the intended nerfs, this is the biggest nerf by far. My honest opinion, and I've always said this from day one, jumping 2k was never that good. Is it a good tool? Absolutely. Was it ever close to as good as people made it out to be? No. No. There was a lot of counterplay against this move, which people did not do yet. Like, if you FD it his minus, if you can trade combo with it. People I played against a lot, I did not use jumping 2k much at all. But the thing is, until you learned the matchup, the move was very strong. Is that a problem, that you have to learn the matchup in order for the good to be less strong? I personally don't think so. I personally thought it was fine, like at a very fine power level, once you played against people that knew how to fight it. But I actually still really like these changes on paper. On paper being the important part. I thought it was completely fine to me to make it so that it's easier to beat if you're looking for it. Now, first off, I think the changes they made here, like adjust the attack range, increase the lower hurt box as well as the behind and in front of Chipp. Reading it out, it sounds fine. Now, I think to begin with, they went a little bit far. It is very easy to beat now. It is very, very easy to beat. And it is not one of those things that like, oh, what button do I need to use? It's like, it's basically like, if you press a button, it usually will beat it. Right? Right, I gotta do this reverse. And again, this is only the intended nerfs. This is not the next nerf which we'll talk about. Right, so let's make him do running 2K. Also, I'm playing Korean. Why did that not work? So it is now not hard at all to beat it. I'm making it whiff now, but you can 5P it, super free. Obviously 5K will beat it clean. I'm sure you can fucking 2S. 2P, trade into combo. Let's trust 2K. 2K might not actually win. Nope, it won. It didn't even trade. It won. Crouching heavy. SDP. Oh. Gotta do earlier. 5-8. I mean, this DP. Dust. Obviously still 6P. Yeah. It's real bad. But the biggest change is closest. Almost every character in the game gets this type of combo now. And this is literally like 300 damage worth for most characters. May, you know, Chipp, Millia, every character gets max damage from close S now, basically. People just think like, oh, it's anti-airable now. At least my 6P will consistently win. Like, when I read the change too, that's what I thought. I was like, all right, 5-piece and, you know, like maybe some good close S's like Ace or Millias would win more consistently against it. They wouldn't trade. Like basically the buttons you used before would now win instead of trade, and some 6-piece would nerf. But now it's more like if there's a hitbox somewhere in the world, down in South Africa, and the Chipp jumping 2Ks in the North Pole, it's going to be a counter hit. It's going to hit, it's going to be a counter hit, and Chipp jumping 2K is going to lose. Obviously, it's an exaggeration, but like, it is a massive, massive change to nerf how easy it is to hit. Yeah, it feels like they went at it like they went at Bad Moon. Exactly. Like, it used to be like pre-nerf Bad Moon, and now it's post-patch Bad Moon. So yeah, that one alone, in my opinion, puts him on the same level as Soul nerfs, right? I think that's pretty fair to say. Like, you nerfed his two most important moves, like running 4S and running jumping 2K. Jumping 2K was while I don't think it was amazing by itself, it was still a very important tool in his lineup, because like he wanted to be airborne against a lot of characters. Like if you played a character against characters such as like Nago or Faust, who weren't super mobile, or maybe like Ramlethal, right, who didn't have the best answer to it, you still had good answers, but not like the best. There was a legitimate case like, maybe I'm gonna jump up and play airborne a lot. Like Chipp is known to be an airborne character, I'm gonna use that. And obviously you couldn't just jump into 2K all willy-nilly. It was still incredibly risky to do it if you were predictable, because they got a lot of damage, and jumping 2k never give a lot of reward on hit, right? And it doesn't combo if you cross up, if you hit weird, but it was still good, right? Because you forced them to rethink how to play a little bit. Like, you forced them to answer it somehow, and that may open up other game plans. Whereas now, you know, you kind of don't want to be in the air, honestly. Like, the risk reward is so bad for you if they have a good anti-air that, like, why would you willingly jump up and threaten jumping 2k? It's gonna be a move you use kind of like as a like for the same side mix-up, in very specific mix-up scenarios, and it's gonna be a move like, oh shit, they're below me, maybe I'll do it. Like, you know, you jumped out of the corner and now they're below you, and now maybe you'll do it. But usually you're probably gonna, like, 80% of the time you're probably just gonna jump away because, you know, you don't want to get TOD'd. Or maybe you'll do it like as an air-to-air. Like, if they're jumping up to try to get you, you can do it, like stuff like that. But, like, you're really not going to be able to play neutral in the same way, at least in my opinion. Obviously, this is still very early on, so maybe I'm completely wrong about this. But, yeah, that change alone made it real risky. And I already thought that Chipp's game plan was heading more that way anyway. Like, the more I played against people, the people that knew the matchup well and at the very high level, you saw less and less of jumping 2k. Obviously, you saw it a shit ton early, like early meta, but I think it went down in use as time went on. And now with that change, it got nerfed a lot. However, at least it got buffed to make up for it. Just like how Soul got 4 buffs. 2k, Bandit Bringer, you could argue SDP, but I would say it's a nerf. 2S and Wild Throw. At least Chipp gets a buff in return, right? Since Chipp was way worse than Soul, at least he gets something in return, right? No. No. So, they intended to buff it. I'll read out the full jumping 2k nerf change. As there was too much of a difference in facing opponents who could anti his aerial jumping 2k, it is now easier for anti-airs to hit him during descent. Alright. On the other hand, he is now left in a more advantageous position on hit or block. This is not a mistranslation, by the way. I've actually checked this with people that actually speak Japanese. He is now in a more advantageous position on hit or block. On hit or block. With less distance between him and the opponent. Chipp can now continue his offense after making contact with this move. Problem is, this is not true at all. This is actually extremely wrong. And anyone could have told you this right away. And I actually called this before I got to play the patch 2. Jumping 2k is not any more plus than it used to be. It is still around +1 to 2. Why is that a problem? Well, because now that you're closer, they can just throw you if you try to do 2k like that, right? Like that's the regular combo. Okay, I'm actually fucking up now. Oh. Like that. Now, there's spacings where where the throw won't work, like there. Right? Okay, I'm actually not even blocking. But the problem is that these spacings, you don't get a combo if the jumping 2k hits in the first place. So you wouldn't really do it. At the only spacing where you want to jumping 2k, basically, if you time the throw properly, which people will with practice, you will get thrown if you try to jumping 2k. I mean, jumping 2k into 2k. Now, you might say, well, Leffen, why the hell would you 2k then? Can't you press something else? You can, but the problem is that jumping 2k is not hit confirmable by itself. What I mean by this is if I put him on random block, right? And then I try to hit confirm. I can't. It like you have to be pressing jumping 2K the first frame you land because it's not plus enough. So basically, when you're up here and you can't see the character, you don't know if it's gonna hit or not, right? So, and there's no big counter. So you had to do the 2K regardless because that was the only way you could get a confirm. And now that doesn't work anymore. You can't confirm it. If you try to hit confirm it, then they will get a punish. And Chipp, after getting thrown, especially if he gets thrown into the corner, very bad news. He will literally die after getting hit once. And what's even worse is that now he doesn't really have an option to beat 3-framers, such as 5K. Right? Like Soul 5K, like at worst trades with basically everything. Now, you can do 5... People are like, oh, just do 5K into 5P. First off, 5P does not lead to a big combo. You don't get a knockdown. You're minus. Secondly, and this is the big thing, you can crouch under it. So if you just hold crouch block, it just whiffs. And then you get full punish. So there's still counterplay. You can still jumping 2K into backdash if they try to throw and then punish. But essentially, with all of these buffs combined, and combined with the fact that you don't want to, it doesn't actually give you any better combos. It's not like you can do jumping 2K on cross up now. It still doesn't work. It's not like you can do jumping 2K to close S or something. It basically means that the biggest nerf to jumping 2K, in my opinion, is actually like kind of tied between